Hey everybody, BK Adams here. Today I'm going to run a little mock battle that takes place in a bank. It's between a supervillain that I randomly generated called Dr. Sun and a superhero that I randomly generated whose name is Ghostfire. And I've got videos of both of those characters being created if you want to look at those. The point of this video is really just to show how absorption works. Someone had asked me do some more videos, and one of the things they wanted was a tutorial on absorption. So that's basically what this is going to be. So I've got this map of a bank. Our villain is outside coming in. Our hero is over in this bathroom, and there's various bystanders and bank employees around, and there's a security guard that's near the entrance. So the first thing that happens is our villain, who's probably wearing a trench coat or whatever, comes in, comes right up. We'll just assume she's like previously cased this place, so she kind of knows where stuff is at. And she comes up to the security guard, and she's not trying to be defensive or anything. In fact, she wants to be hit. Throws off the overcoat, pulls out her laser pistol. So I guess she had a big floppy hat on that would disguise her other stuff, other features. And she says, "This is a bank robbery. Everyone on the floor." Now, the security cop is taken aback by this, but he knows they're superheroes, right? So he backs up a little bit from her, pulls out his pistol, and says, put your weapon down and put your hands up. And she, being a villain, right? She's holding her. I guess technically, she would have walked up, and then started this, so she would have her movement and her action. Okay. Because you cannot split your movement and an action. So we'll say she did that. She's been holding her action. Talking really doesn't take any time. So she says that. He backs up, pulls out his gun, threatens to shoot her. She laughs at him. Yeah, she wants to be hit because if we look at her character sheet, she's got absorption, and she can absorb kinetic as well as energy damage, and the absorbed points add to her power. So I didn't write up this cop, but let's just assume he has like 13 or less to hit with his pistol, and she's just standing there. She wants to be hit, so he gets a +6 to hit her. So he's going to need a 19 or less to hit. So here's his roll to hit. He rolls a 4. So even if she had been dodging or whatever, he would have hit. But she wasn't. His pistol's just a regular pistol. It does a die 10 plus 1. Here's that roll. Well, he rolled low. He only rolled 3. Plus 1 becomes 4 damage. If we go back to her character sheet. So she just absorbed that. She was delaying her action, or rather holding her action, and she uses that action to absorb his bullet. So it was 4 damage, which she can absorb, and we'll go ahead and mark that down. She can absorb a maximum of 35 points. So the 4 points she just absorbed, and by the way, absorption protection is like invulnerability, so only 1/4 of the damage gets through. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. So she rolls with that. She drops to 54 power, but she just got 8 more power. So her 54 power goes to 62. So that's what she wants. She wants to absorb some damage and build up her power a little bit. And I'll just say that with a supervillain Most normals are probably going to do, especially after gun has gone off. So we'll say they drop to the floor. I'll turn them sideways to indicate that's what they're doing. We'll just turn them all sideways. So let's see. I think that's all everybody. So the security guard is not going to do that. Now our hero, unless he rolls a 20, is probably going to hear that gunshot. So let's go ahead and give him a roll. 11, yeah, that's good enough. So, because the gunshot's pretty loud, even through the door he would have heard it. So something's going on, and this woman is probably going to hide in this bathroom stall. Okay, so that was surprise, and so now we will roll initiative. And Dr. Sun has got a die 6 plus 1 initiative, so I roll a 2, that becomes a 3. And our hero's got a die 8 plus 1 initiative, so I roll a 2 and that becomes a 3. So they both get a 3 on their initiative, so I'll go ahead and write that down. Okay, so when initiative is tied, you look at agility scores to see who goes first. So Dr. Sun has a 15 agility and Ghostfire has got a 15 agility. Okay, well, they both have the same agility. So when that happens, you want to roll off, and usually you probably want to roll a die 20 and the lowest roll wins. So Ghostfire rolls a 19 and the villain rolls a 13. So the villain's going to go first. So our villain doesn't know about the hero because he's in the bathroom, but she does have this cop here, and she's just going to goad him and say something like, "Oh, what's the matter? Your weapon not working too well? Why don't you try again?" And let the cop shoot him. But the security guard doesn't go yet, so our hero's gonna go. So we'll go ahead and do him. So Ghostfire, one of his random abilities is non-corporealness. And I said basically he can turn into fire. So if there's a crack, if there's any kind of gap, he can go through it. Doesn't let him walk through walls because fire, can't go through a wall. But if there's any kind of gap, he can basically flow through it. So, and of course, all damages other than psychic can't really affect him when he's in this form. So he could do that. He could turn non-corporeal, but he is a thrill seeker, so he's in it for the action. So what he probably will do is turn on his flame aura, and he can also fly because that's just movement. So he'll take an action, turn his flame aura on, turn his flight on, and he will fly out into the bank. So 1, 2, maybe a few inches of movement to get through the door. Say 1 inch to get through the door. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This guy is on the ground. He can fly right over him. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He comes here right next to the security guard and says, "Hi, officer, need some help?" And the security guard is like, "Boy, am I glad to see you. This lady doesn't seem to be hurt by bullets. Don't worry, I'll take care of it." So he's gone. The security guard is still waiting, or doesn't have his action yet. Our supervillain now has a superhero to contend with, so she has to decide if she wants to keep delaying and maybe have the cop shoot her again, or she could try to shoot him. So I think what she'll do is she's going to delay, and of course now that the superhero is here, I'm not sure the security guard is going to try and shoot her again. But she could goad him into doing that. So one of the things you can do in Mighty Protectors is you can do multiple actions. You can attack twice. You can turn on a power that takes an action and then attack. You could do 3 actions, 4 actions, whatever. Each action past the first takes a -3. And if you're trying to do something that normally doesn't require any kind of roll, like turning on a power, there's a base chance of 20 or less, -3. So just like, turning on a force field is normally automatic, but if it's part of a multiple action, you would take the penalty, whatever that is. So if it's a -3 penalty, then you've got to roll a 17 or less for that action to work, right? So Dr. Sun, if she can goad the guard into shooting her again, because she wants more power, she wants to absorb more power, right? Because she doesn't really have any, other than absorption, she doesn't have any kind of protection or defenses, and she's basically, it's a thing that only works at a specific time, a specific phase, with an action. It is not automatic. So she may do that, but in order to get the security guard to shoot her, she's going to have to goad him into that action. So if we look at the task and save modifiers chart, so for influencing someone, I would say neither side has the advantage. And the way this works is you have to make she has to make a cool save. Now, she isn't trying to get the guard to surrender or pause or answer a question or leave the area or any of that. She wants him to shoot her, which is something he probably would want to do anyway. So I'm going to give her a +3 to do that. So if we look at her character sheet, she's got a 15 cool and 11 or less cool save. So with a +3, that means she needs to roll a 14 or less to get this guy. Now that is modified by the security guard's cool save. I didn't stat him up, but he's going to have a 10 or less, so there's no penalty for that. So she needs to roll a 14 or less to get him to shoot her. So 19, she actually fails her roll, so he does not want to shoot her, and so he'll just continue to hold his action. I guess she will continue to hold her action as well, and we'll just go ahead and go to the next round. So we need to re-roll everybody's initiative. Well, we don't have to roll hers because she's holding. So we need to roll our heroes, and he's got a D8 +1. So I roll a 3, so he's got a 4 initiative. She's been holding on to, or I've got this backwards. So he's a 4, she's a 3, she's still holding. We'll make that yellow. So also the security guard is holding. Actually, even though she rolled a 3, she would have gone, well, I take that back. The security guard would have gone before her, but that's okay. He doesn't want to shoot her. So everybody else is also delaying because they've all been ordered to the ground. So our hero can go on 4, and I'll just go ahead and gray him out because he's going to take an action. So what does he want to do? He's right here, he's flying, he has his flame aura on, or actually he doesn't have to have it on, he can always, or no, he does have it on because it takes an action, so he's got it on. He will, he will order her to surrender, and looking at the chart again, neither side has an advantage, a -12, so basically he has to roll a 1 to get her to surrender. And even if she rolls it, it wouldn't work too well for this combat, but I'll go ahead and roll it anyway. So, right, so a 19 is not good enough. She laughs at him. She wants him to attack, and so he'll do that. He will fire his flame blast at her. She's near the entrance, so it doesn't look like there's anybody around that could get hurt. So he's got a 16 or less chance to hit, but he's getting a +6 because she's just standing there. She wants to get hit. So basically anything but a 20 will hit her. Now she's been waiting, and she's going to absorb his attack if he hits. So here's his roll. A 13, that hits. His Flame Blast does 2d10 energy, and she can absorb energy. So he rolls 13. He hits her squarely in the chest, and she will absorb it as part of a multiple action. So you divide the damage. She divides the damage she takes by 4. So 13 divided by 4 is 3 and a fraction. You round down. So it's 3 points, which she can roll with. So she goes from 62 power to 59 power. But she just absorbed 13 more damage. Now she can absorb all kinetic and all energy. And flame is energy. So 13 plus 4 is 17. So she's absorbed a total of 17. She just got 26 more power. So her power goes from 59 to 75. So now she's got a fair amount of power that she can. It's definitely better than it was. She can do some rolling, but this guy's pretty dangerous. So, oh, I'm sorry. Actually, she's got to roll because it's a multiple thing. So she has to roll 17 or less for that to work on her absorption. I roll a 3, so it works. So now she's trying to shoot him with her laser. She's got a -3 to hit, so it becomes a 13, and he's got a 1 defense, so she needs a 12 or less to hit him. So she doesn't have the best chance in the world to hit. So maybe instead of shooting him, she should use her. She has a flash attack, and these guys, it's no range. It's centered on her. Now again, it's automatic, or actually it's not automatic. She has to roll to. I guess she has to roll to hit the area she's at. I'm not terribly sure on this, so I'll go ahead and roll. So I roll a 12, so it's either going to work or she's going to hit the thing, or she doesn't have to roll a hit anyway because it's always centered on herself. So this flash goes off, and let's see, does she have. Here's the flash area effect. So he's actually kind of half in the square, so he counts for this area, and so does the guard. So he only has to go 1 square to get out of the area, and the same with the guard. So jumping out on area effect is the way you calculate that is you take your defense, you add 9 to it, and so you subtract 3 for every square you have to move to get out of the area effect. So he has got a 1 defense, plus 9 is 10, minus 3 is a 7. So he needs to roll a 7 or less to jump out of that area. So he rolls a 20, so he's going to be affected. And the guard is even worse. He needs a 6 or less. He also is affected. So she's got a -5 on her endurance save. And our hero has got a 11 or less endurance save. But you can also roll with this. So if he spends 5 power and his flame aura does not affect it, it's considered other damage. So he'll spend 5 power. He'll drop to 47 power. And I suppose, actually, he went to 51 when he turned on his flight. He just dropped 5 more, so he goes to 46. So now he can, his rolling with 5 offsets the -5 that the flash was taking him to. So he's got to roll an 11 or less to not be flashed. So here's his roll. He rolled a 15, so he fails. So now he's blinded. That was not nice. He's been blinded. And I'll get to what that does in a minute. So here's the security guard. He actually makes his roll. And we'll go ahead and subtract his power from the security guard. So he drops to 44 power. But he's not blinded. So he's been delaying, so he can actually try and shoot her. So he will. He's got a 13 or less she's no longer trying to be hit, so he's got a 12 or less to hit her. He rolls a 19, he misses her. So now he's gone, security guard's gone, all these other guys are still delaying. It's a new round, so let's go ahead and roll our initiative. The supervillain is a 7, and the hero is a die 8 plus 1, and he's a 2, so not so great. And security guard, I've already got his roll, he's a 2 as well. So our supervillain goes. So things are going pretty good for her. She hasn't really been hurt, and she's here to rob a bank. So she's just blinded this guy. She still has a security cop to deal with, so maybe she should shoot him. Blinding him didn't work, so yeah, she will use her laser pistol. She has a 16 or less chance to hit. We'll say the guy has a 0 physical defense, so she's got to roll a 16 or less to hit him. Roll a 9, so she hits. Her laser does 2 die 12. 16 damage, so that's going to completely take out the security guard. So he can roll with 4 of it and drop to 40. But then he takes 12 damage, so his 7 hit points drop to 0. And then he takes an additional, let's see, it was 16, then it was 12. He's going to take an additional 5 into his hits and drop to 35 hits. Now, there are bleeding rules, and so once you're at 0 hit points, he will start losing 1 power per round. And if he is not, if someone doesn't stop the bleeding, which takes a medical task check roll, he could eventually bleed to death. But that's a lot of rounds, 35 rounds. So, but he is completely out. Lasers do not do knockback. She just burned a hole in him. So, and everybody screams. He drops. Our hero's not doing too well. So she has acted, but she hasn't moved. So we'll go ahead and move her. She's here to rob the bank and get rid of her flash. So she'll come here, 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 here. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? She'll jump over this thing. 6. Step over this guy. 7. Jump over that again, or move through it. 8, 9, 10. So she's here, and she wants to get back in here, so she's going to have to burn a hole through this wall. Or I guess she could just jump over the teller. So yeah, she'll do that. So where was she? She was here, I think. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think that's her movement. 13. 15. So she can go 2 more. Okay. So this is one of the vaults, and she's going to have to burn a hole through this wall. So our hero is blinded. However, he does have a heightened sense of infrared sight, and I'm not sure, I don't think her flash is just regular visible light, right? So if he can turn on his infrared, he can actually, even though he's blinded in the normal things, he can turn on his infrared, and he can actually be able to see. And I believe activation required. I'm not sure if that's well, let's just look it up. It's a modifier. It's one of the modifiers. So let's see. Activation required. Let's see. This modifier makes a continual ability into a persistent ability. So it just requires 1 inch of movement. But like I said before, when it's on, it prevents the character from resting while it's active. So he turns it on, he uses 1 inch of movement. Suddenly, he can now see. And he knows that she went over here somewhere. So The cop is now out of the picture. I'll turn him upside down to represent the fact that he's been completely knocked out. Our guy would probably tell this guy, get out of the bank, call the cops, get, get EMS here, because our hero does not have a communicator. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's pretty sure she went over here somewhere. One of the tellers will point toward the back. That's where she went. So he didn't say anything. So he has plenty of flight movement to get back here. So he comes here and stops. And he still has an action. He hasn't done anything. So he's going to try and shoot her again. So she has a 1 physical defense. He has a 16 or less chance to hit. Let me reset everything. He needs a 15 or less to shoot her with his flame blast. So 11. So he hits. This, if he rolls well, it might be enough to knock her out. So here's his damage. 10 damage. Okay, so that's a little below average, I think. So she's up to... Now, she can't absorb this damage because that requires an action. She's already gone. But she is at 75 power. So she took 10. She can roll with 7. 1/10 her current power. So she goes down from... She goes from 75 to 67. No, 68. But she does take 3 hit points. So that drops her to 11 hits. And Flame Blast, by default, Flame Blast does knock back. So now she's got a D4 mass roll. So she's got to roll a D4. So she rolls a 1. So she's actually, she took 3 hit points. So she's actually knocked back 2 squares. And now she's got to make an agility save at -2. So she has to roll a 9 or less. So 19. So she fails her agility save and she has dropped. She's been knocked back. 1, 2. And I'll turn her sideways to represent the fact that she's prone. So she's not too happy about that. So the hero came in using his infrared sight and tagged her with his flame blast. And that cost him 2 power. So now he drops from 46 to 44 power. Okay, so now it's a new round. I'll go ahead and roll initiative. Clear the roller again. So the villain's a die 6 plus 1, so she rolls a 2, so she's a 3. The hero's a die 8 plus 1, and so he's also a 3. I'll go ahead and do that. And let's see, these guys went last time. The security guard is completely out, so I'll just gray him out. The guys who are holding, I guess they will continue to hold all the NPCs in the bank. Alright, so they might want to run away if they were brave. But usually that doesn't happen in bank robberies. Usually people just sit there. So again, these guys have tied agilities, so they have to roll off to see who goes first. So the villain will roll first. The low roll wins. She rolls a 9. The hero rolls a 3. So the hero gets to go first. So, hey, it worked before. He'll try and shoot her again. So he has a 16. He needs a 15 or less to hit her. He rolls a 16 and misses. So bad luck for him. So that's 2 more power because Flame Blast costs 2 power. So he drops to 42. Oh, I'm sorry. He hit her because she's prone, and when you're prone, you get a plus. The attacker gets a +3 to hit. So that 16, he needed an 18 or less to hit her. So his damage is 9. So that still might not be enough to knock her out. So let's see. So she can roll with 6 of it, dropping her power from 68 to 62. and she takes 3 more hit points, so she drops to an 8. Now she's on the ground, so she can be knocked back even further. So I'll go ahead and roll her mass roll. A 1. So again, she's knocked back 2 squares. So 1, 2. There's a chance she can hit this this guy. I'll just move him out of the way. Its base chance is a 10 or less minus their defense, so he has a 0 defense. So she might hit him on a 10 or less. A 4, she does. So they both take 2 damage from bumping into each other. I'm sorry, 1 damage. So really not much, but she still has to roll with that. So it costs her 1 more point of power. So 61. She's got to take out this hero. She's on the floor, but she can still attack while on the floor. So let me look up fighting while prone. So I brought up the rules on being prone, and it says, you know, prone characters can crawl at 1/4 their movement rate, rounded up, without standing up. Prone characters also suffer a -3 penalty on the rolls to hit targets less than 2 inches away, but he is not less than 2 inches away. And on any other task checks the GM deems appropriate. And when, well, I'll just read what it says. It says it normally takes a full turn, which is basically your movement and your action, for a character who's prone to stand up again. Any character may attempt an AG-based acrobatics task check to rise from prone at the cost of either their movement phase or their action phase, character's choice. And then if you critically succeed, it takes no time for the character to stand up. And it also goes on to say that another character may assist someone who weighs no more than their carrying capacity to rise from prone, succeeding automatically at the cost of their own action. None of that occurs, but what does occur is, so she's back here. She's basically on top of a bank employee who's just laying on the floor. He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 away. Now she can try and crawl towards him for her movement, try and get closer to him. Crawling is 1/4 your movement, so she has a 15, so she can actually crawl 4 spaces because it's rounded up. She wants to get close enough so she doesn't have a range penalty, so she crawls 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So right there, she's right in front of the doors of the vault. She levels her laser pistol at this guy and fires it at him. She's got a 16 or less chance to hit. He's got a 1 defense. So she has no range penalty, so she needs a 15 or less to hit. So she rolls a 7, she hits. Her laser does 2d12 damage. And I roll really bad. I only rolled 7. But he's also got a flame aura going, which he can possibly use. So let me look up flame aura. So reading ability field, which is what flame aura is, it says an ability field is a layer of energy around a character's body, which acts as both a contact attack on the character's regular hand-to-hand attack, see contact ability modifier below, and a form of protection. If hit by a ranged attack that involves a physical projectile, which in this case it is not, roll the damage for ability field and subtract it from the damage inflicted by the attack. If the ranged attack's damage is reduced to 0 or less, its projectile is destroyed before it even touches you. So that's like, you know, the Human Torch melting bullets before they get to him. If hit by a melee weapon attack, your ability field's damage roll is applied against the weapon. If the melee weapon is destroyed, you take no damage. If hit by an unarmed attack, roll your ability field's damage roll and apply it to your attacker before you take any damage. It goes on to say your attacker may apply their defenses against that damage. If your attacker gets knocked out by the ability field, their melee attack is aborted and you take no damage. So it looks like a flame aura is not going to reduce the damage of a laser. So I had rolled 11 damage. So that's what he's gonna take. She rolled really low, but so he doesn't get his flame aura. He's not non-corporeal, so he takes 7 damage. He can roll with 3 of it, so he drops to 39 power, and he takes 3 hit points. So he drops to that. Now lasers do not do knockback, So she singes him, but she does not knock him out. Let's check our combat record sheet. And actually, I forgot who went first in that round. He went first, and then she got to go. So that round is over. Let's go ahead and gray him out. And so now it's a new round. Go ahead and roll initiative. I'll clear the screen. So the villain's a die 6 plus 1, so she's a 6 for initiative, and our hero is a die 8 plus 1, so he's a 9. So he's going to go first. So he's a 9 and she's a 6. Okay, so now he could turn non-corporeal, but then he can't attack her, and he wants to knock her out. Now, her weapon, she has a weapon. It's a pistol. He could try and damage that and then see what happens, or he could just try and, you know, knock her out with his flame blast. Now, it's possible she could start dying, so, but he is a thrill seeker. He's a high school kid, so maybe he's not that smart. So sure, and plus she's prone, she's easier to hit. So actually, because she's easier to hit, he's got a 16 or less chance to hit with his flame blast. Now normally when you attack a piece of gear, like a pistol, or in this case a laser pistol, you take a -3 to hit. So he goes to a 13 or less, but his target, Dr. Sun, is prone, so it goes back to a 16. And she has a 1 physical defense, so he needs a 15 or less to hit her. So that's what he's going to do. He's going to try and melt her laser pistol. So here's his roll. 13, he hits. So the way destroying gear works is if you look at the bottom of your character sheet, it says gear. It has break, take, disarm, and GBC. So to break it for Dr. Sun, you've got to do 11 damage. So he does 2 die 10 with his flame blast. So he'll go ahead and roll that. He rolls an 8. He rolled below average. That is not enough damage to destroy her laser pistol. So that cost him another 2 power for the flame blast. He drops to 37. Now the villain can go. She can try and stand up again, or she can just try and shoot him again with her laser. So she will do that. She will. She has a 16. She has a 15. 15 or less. She's actually going to take. Nah, she'll take 1 15 or less chance to shoot him. So here's her roll. At 19, she misses. So I've been forgetting to mark off these charges. I think that is her 3rd blast from her laser. So again, these guys are kind of not affecting each other very much. So they've gone. So now it's a new round. I'll go ahead and roll initiative again. I'll clear the roller. So the villain's a die 6 plus 1, so she's a 4, and our hero is a 2. So the villain's going to go first. So she's going to fire twice. She thinks maybe her odds are a little better if she fires twice. So she needed a 15. Now she needs a 12. So here's her first roll. That's a 12. That's going to hit. She does do a lot of damage. She does 2 die 12 with her laser. So she rolls 8 damage. So he's got to take it. Now he can roll with 3 of that and drop to 34 and take 5 hits and drop to 6, which is not more than half. If he had dropped to 5, he would have been knocked unconscious, but so he's still conscious, but he was hurt. That was her first attack. Here's her second attack. She needs a 12 or less. A 7, that hits. This is probably going to knock him out. 10 damage. So yeah, he rolls with 3, drops to 31 power. He takes 7 hit points. He drops to 0 hit points, and that other 1 point of power rolls back. Lasers don't do knockback. So she's knocked out our hero. She knocked out the security guard. Now he did tell one of the guys to call the cops, and so there's probably sirens off in the distance. So what she will do is she's going to use her she'll stand up, she'll use her laser pistol, she'll melt through this thing. That'll probably take a round or 2, you know, firing a couple times. She's going to steal as much money as she can, and then she's going to try and get away. So that's it for this. Try and zoom out so you can see the whole bank. And so the villain won this round, and we have a hero who could possibly die, and we have a security guard who could possibly die, and a villain who is going to get a bunch of cash and make her get away. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.